We hope you enjoy our show. We'll be starting in 2 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Collaboration Culture podcast. I am your host, Kimberly Winborn, and I am joined by my co host, who you have seen before several times.
Several times.
Several
We keep
times.
popping up.
Yes, my girl, Kenia of
Hi.
WordCrumbs, Kenia Thompson. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Miss Kenia. Welcome.
Well, thanks for having me on your platform. My name is Kenia Thompson. I am the owner of WordCrumbs, where we have similar conversations actually that we do here on Coffee and Collaborations.
Mhm.
Our conversations are called Critical Conversations, so it's another double C. And we focus on really bridging gaps and creating empathy among groups and communities by having open, honest conversations that hopefully transform and help people see each other for who we really are.
For who we really are. That's so powerful.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
one of the things that happened with us last month is we had an amazing collaboration on WordCrumbs where we launched this series, The Ethos of a Black Woman. And so now we're over here. That was on a Thursday night. Now we're over here on a
Mhm.
Tuesday night. And we've expanded the panel because we had some requests in the audience to bring on a
Yeah.
doctor for this conversation. It's Mental Health Awareness Month. So we have some who are in mental health and are specialists in that area. And then we also have some other dynamic experts that are returning, and then a new guest who I don't want to you see I'm about to give it all away right before they even come on because I'm so excited. But this is just going to be an amazing show. So I want you to go ahead and take a moment and share it with someone. This is going to definitely be worth your time. Go ahead and take a moment and share the broadcast out to other Black women, especially,
Mhm.
but just to everyone. So please go ahead and take a moment and share. And we are going to go ahead and bring on our guests so that we don't, as they say, belay the time. So our first guest is Doc Swiner. So, Dr. Nicole Swiner, welcome
Hello.
to the show.
Hello, hello. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. Tell us a little bit about who you are.
All right. So, I am Nicole Swiner, and I am a family physician, recently retired from clinical medicine, but will forever be a family doctor at heart. and hopefully in mind, or remember as much as I can about medicine. But still at my soul, I'm a family physician, and now I do a number of different things, but I've been involved in what I like to call the ministry of the Superwoman complex for a couple of years, and I've written 2 books on that. I have a publishing company. I do hydration and wellness. I have a company I started last year, but really in my heart of hearts is to be involved in these types of activities with other women, type A like me, doing all the things and taking care of all the people, but hopefully giving themselves permission to focus on self-care, mental health, and what we're now calling the soft life. I like the soft life. So,
The soft life.
I like that.
I'm here to lend the knowledge of how stress affects how we feel in all aspects of life, etc.
We need that. We need that. So welcome. A wonderful resume. And it could go on because this woman is a wealth of knowledge and does a lot to pour into the community. And so next up, we're going to invite back Sandra Dubose. She was here for the last panel. Yes.
Good evening, ladies. Good evening.
So welcome, Sandra. Tell us a little bit about who you are.
Thank you. So thank you for having me back. We had such an amazing conversation the first time. So thank you, Kenia and Kimberly, for inviting me to come back so we can do an even deeper dive. I'm just excited to be a part of this amazing panel of women to talk more about everything that is the Black woman. So I am a motivational speaker. I'm a performing artist. I'm all things women empowerment. And I'm known as the bald beauty queen of self-esteem, but I'm rocking a new wig today because I can.
Beautiful.
Don't get it twisted. I'm from Wakanda. I stay from Wakanda. But I like to switch it up. So yes, so I'm here and I'm excited to get it started and to be in the presence of all you beautiful queens.
We're so excited.
Her voice is so soothing.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Yes. Sing a song.
I know. I was going to say, do you sing? Yeah.
Sing out loud.
Kimberly, you sing too. We can set it off if you want.
Uh-oh. Maybe at the end we have some time. We show some Black girl magic.
That's right.
Then next up, we're also bringing back the amazing coach, Keisha Kusar. Welcome. Please introduce yourself. Tell us who you are. You got to unmute.
Oh, okay.
How y'all?
Oh, I got you. We got you.
You got me. Thank you so much. How's everybody doing on tonight? I am so excited to be here yet again with these amazing ladies that are coming on board, and Lady Sandra here, who's going to soothe us right into the moment. So I am excited to be with everyone in the moment. All right. Keisha Cousar here. Who I am. I am a woman on fire about life. I am a mother. I am a wife. I'm a friend. I'm a sister. That's who I am, because who I am is not what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I want to put a pin right there, right? So oftentimes people say, can you tell us who you are? So that's who I am. It's not what I do. And so what I do personally and professionally is I empower women and girls, and I help transform their lives from the inside out. I am all about women and girls securing themselves. Okay, yes. That means so much to me because we focus so much on the outer, but I want to go from the inner to outer so that we can have whole women, whole girls, so we can do what we need to do in the name of wellness and wholeness in the earth. So that's just a short version. Through coaching, speaking, training and development, you name it, I'm there for all things women and girls.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Well, welcome back to the two of you. And then last but not least, we have attorney Dawn Blagrove. So welcome to the platform, Dawn. Please tell us who you are, what you do, a little bit about you.
All right. So I'm going to take that little bit of coaching that we got before we came in and say who I am. Who I am is a freedom fighter, a mother, a lover of Black folks, a fighter for liberation, a wife, a sister, a daughter. What I do is I am an attorney. I am the executive director of Emancipate NC, which is an organization that is committed to ending systemic and institutional racism and abolishing mass incarceration. And I'm happy
Love
to
it.
be here with y'all.
Well, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad that you could join us for this wonderful topic. Again, welcome to all of you. And I want to just go ahead and dive in. Let's go back a second and explain what this is all about. So let's define ethos once again. Last time we defined it, and we want people to understand, because I realized once we got on that a couple of folks may not know what it meant. And so I believe Kenya described it and defined it last time, and I'm going to pick it up this time. And then Kenya is going to take over with our first topic that we're picking up from the last show. We didn't get a chance to really go into it, so we said instead of trying to push and finish it, we would just bring it on over to this next show. And so ethos defined is the characteristic of spirit of a culture, era, or community as manifested in its beliefs and aspirations. And that's according to Oxford Language. And so it means custom or character in Greek. So when you think of the ethos of a Black woman, it's the character, the custom, the ambiance, the essence, rather, the spirit, the culture, the era. Originally used by Aristotle, it referred to a man's character or personality, especially in its balance between passion and caution. Today, ethos is used to refer to the practices or values that distinguish a person, organization, or society from others. So to summarize that, what makes us different? What makes us stand out? What makes us unique? And it doesn't mean that anybody is better than the next person, but it definitely means that there is a distinct, unique difference. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. In order to, as a personality and personality profiling, they say, once you can understand yourself, it helps you to understand others. And so that's the goal of all of this. So Kenya, I'm going to pass the mic over to you.
Pass the mic.
Pass the
Yeah.
mic.
So last time we had such a robust conversation, and we got to the end, and I felt like I was trying to cram all this content in there. We got to the point where we started talking about health as it pertains to Black women and some of the things that are plaguing us: heart disease, strokes, stress, Superwoman complex. So I say that to kind of bring in Doc Swiner into the conversation. I'd love to hear about what you've seen in your practice, women coming into the office complaining of what things, and how have you helped them kind of navigate through some of those pressures of life?
Yeah. One thing that was particularly during this pandemic and this chaos that we've been living in for the past 24 plus months, the common theme of almost any complaint that I would get has to do with being tired. We're just tired. Black people are tired. Everybody's tired, but Black people particularly are tired, and Black women are the most tired. And sometimes that's literally the complaint. You know, they can't point, pinpoint exactly what it is. Just like, why am I so tired? And so almost any visit that I would have, whether it was coming in for your preventative visit, your pap smear, your mammogram, your high blood pressure, your diabetes, your depression, either the conversation itself would lead to stress, or I would bring up the amount of stress. You know, how much stress are you under? Do you feel like it's tolerable? Are you coping? What are you using for coping? So it's something that stress weaves itself in and out of all medical issues, mental health issues, all of it. So I think that, we may not think, I hope that we're thinking about it more, now that we're talking more about it. It's becoming less stigmatized to talk about mental health and the level of stress that we're under. But I want us to also make sure that we associate that with how it relates to physical and medical health, because a lot of the things that I end up having to treat, whether it's, with medications or not, can be relieved by addressing stress and doing natural and lifestyle changes and work hour changes and the type of work that you're doing. If we address that, a lot of our medical issues can be helped.
You raise a good point. I think so. During the pandemic, for me, I'll just speak for myself. Beforehand, we were just kind of going through life, working, being a mom, being a wife, whatever the case may have been. And then the pandemic happened, and I think we realized, or at least I realized, how much I was carrying for so long, because I almost craved the chaoticness of life before. And I realized, no, I got to sit with myself now. And so when I sat with myself, all these things bubbled up and surfaced. My blood pressure went sky high for whatever reason. I was confronted with mental health issues, things I hadn't dealt with, trauma, and it just all like pummeled me. Like it was like a truck hit me. When we talk about like mental capacity, Keisha, what have you seen as far as mental health goes, and has there been an uptick in the numbers of women that have been coming to you or in the industry?
Absolutely, yes. I would say 100% so, because I think as you related it to the pandemic and just having time, we are so busy.
Mm-hmm.
We are afraid. And I say loosely we, because some people can become upset. Don't put me in that box. I'm not putting you in a box. But what I am saying at large, okay, there is this heightened fear. What does it mean? Especially, Doc, when you said type A, listen, I understand her, okay? I am her, but I know how to manage and care for her, right? So that's the difference. There's not a dagger against high performance, high energy driven women. But when the world stopped, we didn't know what to do because identity.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, identity is hidden in what we do. We don't know who we are, some of us, outside of that. So the stress that was suppressed erupted. Because for so long, it's easy to hide and chase after that which we hustle or identifies us. So when we have to come face to face with the realities of life, it can no longer hide. Trauma surfaces, issues with self surface, finance surface, the gamut, right? So it's important to look at the whole you and the dimensions of you: physical, mental, social, and emotional. Sometimes we only focus in one dimension and we're out of alignment. Doc can jump in because I'm going to go somewhere else. So y'all just help me.
Oh, you got it. You're on it. You're on it.
I want to interject and ask this real quick and include this, because I think what I want to ask is, we have to sit with ourselves though and deal with some things, to your point, Keisha, that people hadn't. We are so able to push stuff under the rug when we remain busy. And there are so many people that are dealing with various things, traumas and different things that they have not sat down to face, even historical generational things that are transferred from one generation to the next, that's silent sort of killers. And I think you can tell me if I'm wrong, but sitting down and having to sort of open ourselves to facing that stuff, like Kenia said, because she had to slow down, then it was like boom. And so not only, it's back to what Doc Swiner was talking about, people were gaining that COVID-19. I think it was beyond just sitting still. Like it was the mental that was happening as a result of sitting still. Anybody want to add to that or give some knowledge as to that process?
So I would like to jump in here too, because I think as a mother and a wife and the executive director of a nonprofit that fights criminal justice, one of the things that exploded during COVID was, George Floyd and this idea of accountability. And so while everyone else in the world's work shut down, my work geared up in a way that I had never seen before. But even still, having my work gear up, having the profile of our organization explode, it was a good thing because we were able to talk about other, important issues, and have captivated audiences because everybody else's life was shut down. I think we also I found myself struggling with holding on and tethering myself to who I was and not who people wanted me to be, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's important for us, especially us type A ladies who, us type A women who really find a way. We don't really have downtime, right? And I mean, we've said it, but even during COVID, I would guarantee that everyone on this screen right now found more ways to channel work, productivity, just different ways. But we found ways to do it, and we found ways to do it that was 24 hours, not just stuck within a 8-hour work day. We are working from home. Working from home for women like us means we never stop working. Right. So there's that I wanted to elevate. And then I also want to elevate this idea that while there was so much trauma, the layers upon layers upon layers of trauma that bubbled up to the surface, for many of us, and for Black women, I think in general, we have played the role and always play the role of the keepers of our families, right? The keepers. We hold other people's trauma in ways that I think we don't even realize the harm that it does to us. I made sure that my daughter, who was a junior in high school when this started, and missed her whole junior year and her senior high, my social butterfly in the house with me for 24 hours a day, I mean, it was just crazy. I made sure my girls had therapists. My other daughter was in pharmacy school, a very rigorous program, right? I made sure that they had a therapist, made sure that my husband was okay. I made sure that, the house felt comfortable. Everybody had masks. My mother was doing what she needed, but it was at least a solid year into the pandemic before I literally was like, girl, who is taking care of you?
Right. Yes.
Who is taking care of you? Right? Are you giving myself permission to take care of me? And it literally came from an explosion, right? I just completely lost it. Something, innate that the children or my husband had done 100 times before. And for whatever reason, in that moment, I lost it, right? And I said to myself, and my family said to me, okay, you got to take care of you.
Yeah.
And I had to put everything on hold. Take me a vacation by myself where nobody knew my name, where nobody was calling me about police trauma, where nobody was calling me and sending me videos to tell me about who I needed to fight with for them, right? And just be by myself and sit by myself for a minute and take care of me. And I think that is the most important lesson that I'm taking out of COVID, is that I have to always remember that while I am taking care of other folks, at some point, I got to make time to take care of me.
Right. Is that the Black woman? We are taking care of other people's houses, our houses, because when we look at the statistics of heart disease and those numbers, mental health, silent issues, traumatic experiences that are pushed under the rug, we are in crazy numbers, not alone, but definitely with heart disease, we are at the top of the list. So Doc Swiner, what would you say to that? Or Sandra, or anybody that would like to chime in? Is that our story? Is that our history?
Right now it is. It's very unfortunate that we are number one, and not in good ways when it comes to health, unfortunately. So if you look up the list for those who have suffered more from breast cancer, from colon cancer, from diabetes, from heart disease, us. And I hate to say that. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of it is the trauma that is woven and that has changed our DNA from history, from our foremothers, their foremothers, who have been the matriarchs of this world, the nation. We've carried the world, carried the culture on our backs. You're absolutely right as far as taking care of other people's homes. The George Floyd incident and the multiple incidents that have happened of police brutality and violence, even though I don't know them personally, I carry that trauma with me. We all carry that trauma with us. We want to fix it. We want to address the hurt. We want to, fix the system. And a lot of times it comes down to us, and we do it. We fix it, right?
Yeah.
Because who else is going to do it? But my mission in life, my ministry is to, while we are doing all of these things, to put ourselves first. We have to. We have to be selfish. We have to get good sleep. We have to exercise. We have to get a therapist. Hello. I called my I rescheduled. I'd seen a therapist before, and when COVID-19 hit, I said, "Oh, it's time."
Yeah.
So Dawn, I went ahead and said, "We got to do this." My husband looked at me and said, "I don't know how you're gonna make it," because, like Dawn said, while her work upticked, the essential workers and healthcare workers, Lord have mercy. And that's had something to do with why I ultimately left. It was
Yeah.
so just remember to take care of yourself first.
Yeah.
Well, I think I was going to say, I think you made a good point. I've always had a difficulty being selfish, and I think we should relabel what that word is. Like, I think there's a negative connotation to saying, I want to be selfish. It's not about being selfish. It's like Dawn said earlier, it's just about taking care of me. But go ahead. I think Sandra hasn't. Did you want to say something, Sandra?
Yeah, I just wanted to, interestingly, when we're talking about COVID and everybody's experience and being type A women, mine was opposite, where many of you had an uptick in your work and you were overwhelmed. Everything that I love completely stopped, right? So, I mean, by day, I'm an event coordinator, and then I also do the motivational speaking. I'm always on the go. I'm performing. I have that outlet in my life where I get to be creative and do the things that I enjoy. And with there not being any venues open, there are no events. It was a complete and total halt. There was no creative outlet. And for me, I have never been so bored in my entire life. I had nothing to, and it was very difficult because I had nothing to pour out. As an artist, I need to be inspired in order to create. And whereas I'm sitting with the fear of watching all of these people lose their lives due to this disease, and we don't know what to expect. There was so much fear, so much scarcity, so many myriad of emotions when you go to a supermarket and there's no toilet tissue. Where's the meat? Where's the food? Like, we're going through this together, and then feeling like you should be inspiring. I don't feel inspired. I'm scared.
Yeah.
You signed me up for this. I don't have nothing to say. I'm sitting here as well, going through this experience, scared for my life and the people that I love, and don't know when we're going to get back. And then because it was so long, that COVID fatigue, where you're just like, I can't do this anymore. Every time we turn on the news, how much longer? The numbers are getting worse. It's like, please. So it was just a really difficult time for me, where I feel like I lost a part of myself, because it is not within my nature to sit around and do nothing except be steeped in fear, And so it took things kind of moving forward and me some time to have to say, I have to really kind of pull myself back together. I have to restore my faith. I have to pour into myself and do what it is that I can to get my cup full, because I'm still on assignment. Even if I have to sit out for a season and just kind of regroup, it's okay, because the wonderful thing about the way God does a thing, and I'm not going to get you started, Keisha, but I'm just saying, I'm going to pass the ball to you. But the wonderful thing about God is that he's intentional about all things. And sometimes he will silence you because he wants to give you a new word of Rhema for the new season that we're in, because we are in a new season, and you cannot talk about the things of the past because they're not relevant today. We on some new stuff. And so it's time for everybody to sit back, to do their own introspective work and figure out what shift has happened in you, what growth has happened in you, and how can you then turnkey that and give that to the world for what we need to hear today.
And that's a good segue to something I thought about a moment ago: connection, collaboration. So we can get off COVID just a bit, but actually lean into this subject from that, because I think we had to find a new way, to your point of being sort of shut down. We had to find a new way to connect. We had to be willing to sort of shift and find a new way to do things. And so that's one of the things that historically people have said about Black women, that we don't get along. And I love the conversation that I started with Dawn. I love the conversation that we've talked about and touched on just a little bit last show, and I've had with Kenia before. What is Black? what is a Black woman? It's not just African American. And then what are the things that are separating us versus the things that can bring us together? And the conversation that I had with Dawn, we were just talking about the various Black women. There's Jamaicans, there's Haitians, there, so many different types. And so what is that thing that can connect us, that has historically been keeping us separate, that we can from here create new relationships and actually shift into the next chapter? And we'll go to Keisha, because you were on the edge of your seat a few times.
Yes, listen, from Sandra, from everyone, there's several things running through my mind, so I'm going to try to be concise. You asked specifically, what is the one thing? And as I look at what I do, where I am throughout on a daily basis, like I'm talking about real life. I'm glad you shifted a little bit from COVID, because we have to focus on where we are now and the lessons learned, and how can we apply and do something different. We have to take the knowledge that we have gained and make it application. It is not power until we make it application. Okay. So many of us love to go on phrases, but if we don't take those phrases and make those phrases live, then we're still stuck in the past. So the thing for me that can bring and bridge the gap is communication and authenticity. You have to get outside of your box. And I'm encouraging you, when I say have, I don't want anyone to take that in the wrong context. I'm saying for who you are, what does that look like? How can you get outside of your box and begin to communicate? Not changing who you are, but knowing who you are, becoming comfortable in your own identity, not shifting your identity, but building relationships with people besides yourself, and allowing people to understand the Black woman, the variations in the Black woman. I can still be who I am and not have to shift who I am because I am a minority in various situations. So self-identity is key. If you come into situations and you are not certain of self, we first must be partakers of our relationship from inner to outer. So the complexity that comes in, that builds anxiety, that we are steadily comparing ourselves to our neighbor or to our other type A sister. The social media streets got us all twisted. Okay. We twisted because we don't have any identity and focus about ourselves and our life. So when I know who Keisha is, it doesn't matter for me, then I can step and not be shifted because I'm stepping to Kim, I'm stepping to Molly, I'm stepping to Susan. Because at the end of the day, as I go around in my steps, they are ordered and I know who I am.
Good stuff.
So, yes, please, because this is one I hold dear. And we have got to know who we are. What Sister Keisha is saying is 100%. You have to know who you are. You have to own who you are in all of your flaws, your perfections, your strengths and your weaknesses, and know that it takes all of those things to make us each individual human beings, because that's really what we're talking about. You have to know who you are, but also, especially as it relates to Black women, we have to be very conscious of the social constructs that are in place and that are working to make us think we are each other's enemies, right? To pit us against each other. It is not to our benefit to fight one another. It is not to our benefit to believe that one of us is better than another because of where we're from or what we look like or what we do for a living. Those are social constructs that were created by white supremacy to keep us separate, to keep us divisive, to keep us from bringing our collective power together. One of the other most real powerful things that white supremacy has done to us is ingrained in us this sense of scarcity, right? There is not enough amazing for all of us to be equally amazing. There is not enough light for all of us to shine as brightly as we are supposed to shine. That is something we have got to shake, y'all. We have got to shake, because when we realize that my shine, my success, my privilege does not come at the expense of another Black woman, but most importantly, comes to the benefit of another Black woman if I am using it in the way that God intended for me to, and not underneath the sick, cancerous guise of white supremacy and the way we have been trained in America to interact with one another, the foolishness that we have been taught about one another. We have got to be so, and it takes real work, y'all. You have to be intentional and deliberate about fighting that deeply ingrained anti-Blackness that America gives to us, right? We have to be conscious. Every time you look at another sister and you see her doing something fabulous, and your response is not, do it, girl, do it. You were making me proud. Let me call my baby in so she can see you being your best self. When you are not doing that, you need to check yourself. And you need to look inside of yourself and pluck out whatever it is that is blocking you from celebrating another Black woman. Because hear me when I tell you that is what is holding us back more than anything. The idea that there is not enough space in the universe for us all to be great. And look here, the Lord wouldn't have made us as fantastic as we are if it wasn't enough room for all of us to be fantastic.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Amen and amen and amen.
Comments are going crazy. Look at that.
They are. Absolutely. And I echo that. And I think about, Kenia, I'm going to pass this to you because of your experience as a Black woman and in America, but with Haitian descent. And so we were, also having the conversation about that sort of hierarchical gaps or system that has kept us separate as a result of our nationality as well. And so, how can we bridge that gap? Because I believe that that's a cyclical curse that continues to happen among Black women as well. So, Kenia, I'm going to pass that to you to kind of expound.
So I think my experience is a bit twofold. I grew up, I'm first generation American. So I was born in New York, but both my parents are from Haiti. So my home, whether it was New York or here, has been little Haiti, smack dab wherever we were at. So, growing up, it was very difficult to identify with my Haitian roots simply because of what media would tell us about Haiti, how poor we are, the voodoo that we practice. I don't do any of this, right? My family actually has a street named after them. We are one of the most prominent families in Haiti. So coming here, though, and having the American lens on that detached me from the pride that my family has of being part of the first Black nation that gained their independence from their oppressors. So I was so disconnected from that for the longest time. I didn't even want to identify with being Haitian, but I didn't know how to identify with being African American either. So, a lot of the trauma, or even when I, talk about my Breaking the Silence program, it's simply because I couldn't find a voice that fit any of the narratives that they told me I was supposed to fit. And so when I look now at how I've embraced my culture, my roots, there's a level of identity that feels so gratifying, so confirming, and it doesn't allow me space to falter on who I am anymore. Right. And I think that one of the issues that we have in this country, and not an issue by any of our faults, is that we've been stripped away from our roots so far, so deep, so much that we're now trying to figure out like an identity, and we're seeking source, and we're seeking something that feels connected to us. And that I think that's a big issue as to why we've gone through so much that we've gone through. It was all strategic, of course, right? Yeah. You take people from where they identify, who they identify with, you take them from their roots, you give them another language, they have nothing to fall back on. So, I think as we start to navigate back towards now, I understand African Americans saying, well, I'm not from Africa. You're not, right? This is the country that you built. And so I think when we find our identity in this country and we take comfort in the spaces that our ancestors built for us, then there'll be unity, right? I think there'll be more or less, I don't like her, I don't like him for unknown reasons, right? We realize that we are all from the same cloth, the blood that's been shed is all of our blood. That unifies you in a way. But when people strategically take that knowledge away from you, or take that strength away from you, you can't flourish as much as you should, because you don't have that foundation to stand on. So
Yeah. And
yeah.
how does that affect your mental health? Like, how does that affect your overall? Like, Doc Swiner, if you have any thoughts to all of this?
And so what's crazy is, as Kenya was talking, I was reminded of that systemic programming, right, that we've all been through, that our ancestors have been through, and that we unfortunately are still undergoing. When you turn on the TV and you see the news and you see social media and you see these reality shows, which I am, I'm victim to. I do watch.
Me too.
I do. But I feel like I'm mature enough where I can kind of separate things, right? But, where we're fighting each other, where we are calling each other names, where we are being, killed in the streets. I mean, it literally is, like Don mentioned, it's white supremacy that is just woven into the American culture. And we hear this, we ingest this, we soak this in on a daily basis, even unknowingly. And so imagine, I mean, it's trauma after trauma after trauma that we've been through, and it's separation from our original culture, the more and more and more every day. So we have to be intentional. We have to be intentional about being together, about supporting one another, about learning about your inherent culture. I was also reminded that I need to go back to Charleston more. I'm from Charleston, South Carolina, and that's, where many of our people were dropped off and were brought over and built with their hands, their blood, sweat, and their tears. And the Gullah culture is there. When I go home, there's a tension. There's both a love and a hate there sometimes, just with the amount of trauma that I know that has happened there, but the beauty that is what our ancestors built. We need to do that more and learn your history. And I think that that's going to remind us that even with this trauma that we see on a daily basis, of how wonderful we are as a culture, no matter where you're from. And the last thing I'll say about the original question about how can Black women, no matter where you're from originally, how can we strengthen our community, is just reminding each other that no matter where you're from, I think Black women everywhere are natural born leaders. We are queens. We were born that way, whether we realize it or not, or whether we lose that sense over time. So I think if, you as a leader see the leader and the queen and another Black woman, there's nothing that you can't accomplish together.
Yeah.
So that's
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
go ahead. You had
I
something
just
to say?
said absolutely. Go ahead.
No, I think that if we focus less on being intimidated and figure out how we can support one another, right? So when we see that leader or that queen emulated in that other woman, why not go ask, hey, I would love to learn about what you do. I would love to shadow you. I've asked a couple of women, can you be my mentor? Right? Because I don't know it all. And actually in some occasions I've become their mentor. So we've mentored each other in so many different spaces, but we wouldn't have known that if we didn't humble ourselves enough to just say, I really love you. I really like you. I don't even know you. Kimberly, that's how we met.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I kept seeing her and I was like, okay, I just got to figure out who this woman is. And now
that transfer of wisdom, collaboration, it really does help to build and strengthen each other. And so I know that people think I'm very bright, like in the sense of like I'm very like up, which is not your average everyday Black girl, right? But and so I would always, I think we chit chat about this the last time a little bit. People would always say like you act like a white girl or something, that sort of a thing. And it's like, where did all of these different, these differentiations come from? We were talking about on another platform, like how I don't really use a lot of slang. And just it's all of these differentiations, and so it's like, oh, you act like a white girl because you don't use a lot of slang, and so these things keep us separate. These things keep us, well, I'm not going to go over there, or I'm not going to go over there. When if we just realize, okay, she's a little different than me, but there's nothing wrong with her different. And so, yeah, Kenya, that's what brought us together, and it's helped me to make several relationships with various people. because of just being me and being okay with you being you, and being open to learning how we are more alike than apart
Yeah,
or different.
yeah. And how
And I
we can
believe that
help each other.
yeah, we need each other, but it's a part of, unfortunately, I don't know if I want to call it a generational curse or what it is, but it's a, what do you say, Keisha? You I saw that finger, but I don't know what you said.
Mother coming out of me, mother. It's learned behavior. Because
That's
if you
exactly
think
what
about
it
it,
is.
I was like, Lord help me, because it's learned behavior, and
Mhm.
we have a responsibility, which is why I'm so grateful that this platform is set, because we can have the conversations that show our children, that show other young adult women that it is important to be transparent. Like, I'm okay breaking an egg. I'm okay messing up. I'm okay if we don't show this and we keep the lie of the cape on,
Mm.
the lie of the cape.
Say that.
If we keep it on, then my daughter, who is a senior graduating next week, she gonna try to put a cape on. Then my other daughter gonna try to put a cape on. So how we stop this pandemic, this is a pandemic. That how we stop it is that we got to have a conversation about, today I'm hurting. The whole thought of the intimidation is ignorance. It's ignorant for me to be intimidated by you. But if you think about the intimidation, the root of it is because of my own lack of identity. So I have to then transfer, because I don't know who I am. So when I see you, I'm going to put on what you have on. I'm going to talk how you talk, because I see you thriving. I was never meant to wear your clothing and be who you are, because when the Father made me, he gave me my own identity, my own DNA. But if I can't understand who I am and I want to put you on me, then I'm walking around enslaved to who you say I am. That's the lie. The lie is who you are telling me that I have to be. But I have to understand who God has made me to be, and to be okay with that, and stop the lie. I'm going to stop the lie. Women and girls, we stopping the lie. The lie is, girl, bad today. I don't feel good today. Or I'm bothered today. Or my emotions are this way today. We've got to learn how to talk about what we feel. We have to learn to talk about our thoughts. And we have to be okay with where we are in the moment. Stop the lie.
Yeah.
Burn the cape. Take the cape off. The cape ain't working. The cape is a lie. The cape is a lie. You have to know who you are.
And burn the cape. Just burn it.
Burn it. Listen,
burn the cape.
One of the things that I have, as my profile has raised as someone who is a fighter, who is a leader in our communities, one of the things that I have been incredibly conscious about doing, intentional and deliberate, is putting on Facebook when I am having a fantastic day, when I am feeling fabulous, and also the days when I say, today ain't the day. I can't get out of bed today, because the weight of this trauma is too much today. Today, I'm not putting on no makeup, and this is what she looked like when she ain't got no makeup on, and she's still beautiful, but she looked different. And it's okay. This different is okay too, right? When I am having a day where I can't stop crying, I will put that on social media, because here's what people will say to me all the time. Oh, you're so strong. You fight. You know what, though? That's not all of who I am. And I'm not going to allow you to make me all of that, to make me carry that, put the cape. You're not going to make me carry that cape. You're not going to make me wear it. I'm not superhuman. I am a regular, everyday human who is working my best to be my best. And to make the world better than it was when I found it. That is what we all should do. And some days that looks beautiful, and some days it looks like crap. And that's okay. And it is our response. That is one of the things about social media that we have got to use, is that we have got to stop creating these false impressions of who we are, and give people our whole selves. And when you give people your whole selves, people feel comfortable enough to give it back to you. They feel safe to say, I can be all of who I am, whether that is looking great today or looking terrible today, whether I'm feeling good or feeling bad, whether I done sent out a brief with a misspelled word to everybody in the damn universe and I'm embarrassed to tell about it. Whatever it is, we have got to make it normal to be flawed. We have got to normalize that. And if we don't normalize that for ourselves, we will kill ourselves. But now, and the last thing, I know I've been talking a lot, but I got to go back to this white girl thing. Talking like a white girl, looking like a white girl, acting like a white girl. Let me tell y'all something. Here's what I need for you to see. That is less about you, right?
Yes.
And more about what the person saying it thinks about themselves. Right? Because that person has gotten it so deeply ingrained in them that white is right.
Mm-hmm.
When they say to you, you talk like a white girl, it is because they think you speak in a way that they wish they could. You speak in a way that they think is enviable, right? And because we have been taught as Black people in the diaspora that all things white are best, if you are doing something that I find enviable, it has got to be because you are emulating what is the best, which is white folks, right? So whenever we hear somebody say that to us or to someone else, we have got to be intentional and deliberate about helping them see, baby, do you hear what you are saying?
Absolutely.
Do you hear what you are saying? Do you hear what you are saying is that you like what I'm doing? Mm-hmm. You are impressed by whatever it is that I am giving off. And you have been trained that you cannot be impressed by Blackness. So you got to take the thing that is impressive to you about me and make it white. That is a powerful thing, y'all. And we got to dispel it every time we see it. Every time.
You're speaking to the fifth grade me. She's speaking to the fifth grader in me. Thank you.
I was about to say the same thing. And back then we didn't know how to process it that way. And so it was so traumatizing. Like, why don't these girls like me? Why do they think I'm, and it had, like you said, nothing to do with us. Nothing to do with us.
And I think about the next generation, and I want to go to Sandra because we talked about your daughters a bit the last time. And then everybody here has sort of been talking about their kids and just what you want to transfer to them. So with this next generation, we've learned so much, right? We have learned the things that we didn't like from our parents. We have learned the things that we could just do better, that we've learned throughout life, throughout our personal development or what have you. When it comes to these young girls, first of all, are we giving them the tools? Do we feel as Black women, we are giving them the tools? Because do we have the tools? Have we been taught the tools? I think of, and this is going to veer off just a little bit because I want to go to this area of the conversation. There's so much that I did not learn or know about my body. No slight to my mother, who is amazing. But there's so much that I did not know about myself, about my body, about so many other things that should have been discussed because it was not okay to be discussed. Because you were too young, because you were too this or too that, whatever it is. So are we doing our children? Have we learned a lesson to pass on to the next generation? Or are we still struggling in that area? What do you all think?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say for me, I know just like you, Kimberly, growing up, very religious household, very strict. You know, my mama would say, you bet not do so and so, and if you do, you bet not let me find out about it. That's it, and that's all. There's the lesson. Just don't do it, and if you do, don't let her find it. You know, there was no other information that was being given about what exactly is it, and that I, what do I do with these feelings? It wasn't a safe space, and I know it was her way, and her generation's way of protecting us. Fear was the tactic. It wasn't about honesty, education, transparency. It was about, I'm going to scare you so much that I'm hoping that this fear will make you so afraid that whatever you're feeling, you'll just be so afraid that you'll just run from it. You know, it's like, and that should be enough to hold you for a good amount of time.
Is that effective?
Is and it depends on the child. It might be effective for some, but it's not going to hold you very long because there are those puberty hormones, all this stuff is going to kick in, but our kids are not afraid of us today. Okay. Because they have liberties that we did not have. They know how to pick up a phone. They in charge. They know they rights. Okay. We can't lead with fear tactics. It's not old school no more. And it's also not helpful. I think a lot of times too, that generation, they were so afraid of telling us the truth of who they were and the mistakes that they made, because they felt like good parenting was just representing this is what it's supposed to look like. We're looking at the finished product. They didn't want to tell us about the process, because then they were so afraid that we would then say, but you did it, but what about you? And throw it back in your face. And I think with parenting, there is this balance where, my kids can't throw nothing in my face because I can tell them what I've been through and what I've learned, but also I did not have the teaching and the opportunity to learn and the transparency that they have access to. So yes, I was young and dumb and sheltered and a church girl. I had no idea. So there were a lot of mistakes that I made. I mean, but it made me who I am. And so I can tell them my truth of what really happened. And here's the result of that. So I think that, it's for every single woman, but I'll tell you this, it's also about us being healed in our own individual self so that we can show up in our mothering in a way as a healed woman. Yes, I've been through this, and here it is. I am healed. I've done my work. And therefore we can offer that to our young people to say, here's what you really need to know. And more than that, here's what was going on inside of me, which may be what's going on inside of you. So I'm going to give you the real deal, Holyfield. But even in that, and I'll end with this. At the end of the day, I've told my children everything that I feel like they need to know that I could think of. But it's their decision. Every seed that I've planted, all I can do is know that I planted that seed and that I've lived my life to lead by example. The rest, my dear, is on you. And you're going to have to allow that seed to germinate and to grow inside of you until it becomes your truth and it takes root in your heart. And that's the part as mothers that we can't control, because they still have to test it out. But at least I know that they know. And when they get ready, it'll spring up. That truth will spring up. And we just got to be patient and just trust the process, because we all have a process. And so I know what I put in my kids. Eventually, it'll come up.
So we have different avenues, industries that we can answer that same question from each different, the other three remaining. Doc Swiner, you're a mental health, Keisha, and then attorney Dawn. So from the perspective of your industry, can you answer that question?
I'll jump in with the health part. Y'all, please talk to your kids about their bodies, because they're going to learn it from somewhere and somebody probably less smart than you are. And yes, Miss Sandra, they know how to use those Twitter thumbs and those Google thumbs and learn all the wrong things. And I'm going through it myself. I have a 9 and almost 11-year-old, and I feel like they're going on 33 and 35. And it's a challenge. My husband says that once the hormones kick in, he's just going to leave. He's going to let the three women have the house. But we're going through it. We're talking about what things are and what this means and what do they mean when they say this, and what's a period. That we're trying not to make those words bad words in our house, because I want to be fully transparent. I want to tell them what diseases and infections happen when you're not being safe and when you're not taking care of your bodies. I want to tell them about that. I also want to try my best. It's without cringing and feeling too awkward. I want to be an open door, and I want to be an open book for them. So we're going through it. So yes, answer those questions, have those conversations early. What is this? What is that? What happens when hormones happen? What did that boy say? Like, what does that mean? Talk to them, because they will go, if they don't get the answers from you, just imagine where they're getting the answers from. So please talk to your kids and keep them safe, keep them healthy, keep them, make sure that they have a good relationship with their medical and mental health providers, so that if they don't feel comfortable talking to you, they have those people to talk to that you can trust, that have knowledge. So just, lead by example in that way.
We'll go to you, Keisha.
Absolutely. I can say that within my industry, what I do specifically in terms of my organization, Empower Her, it 100% addresses everything that you all have talked about, where we provide coaching and mentorship and workshops, and I'm in the schools and outside of the schools, where one-on-one individual coaching and group coaching for girls ages 11 to 18. there's so many different areas that I could communicate on that, but I want to stay focused in terms of the responsibility in the services that I provide for Empower Her. If mothers, aunties, institutions, agencies do not find the value in girls having social and emotional learning that is taught by a professional, it's not going to matter. They're not able to allocate resources to support them while we are buying things to put on our children so that they look good going back to school, looking good, doing X, Y, and Z. Of course, it's your individual responsibility with your children in your home, but I want to encourage parents. It is a priority. It is no longer like personal growth and development. It is no longer just a luxury. Like, it is a high necessity that we spend our resources investing in what our children need to help them. It creates a village. In addition to mama, you have a village of support that you're getting the education and training so that you can be equipped to deal with the things that are going on at home, in addition to a Miss Kiesha, in addition to Miss Sheila, in addition to, so that you create the village for your child. When we take down the mask, honey, well, go on in here. Don't you say that outside these streets. Let me tell you something. You're imprisoning your child where they're going to go to their device, right? So whether I'm having a one-on-one session with my teens, and I love teen coaching because the things that I hear, the pains and the aches and the cries and the needs of our girls is so vast, but yet we are closed off. Parents are shut down. We are busy. We are tired. We are outsourcing them to devices, and we were not present. And when I say we, because I have to be intentional, I have to shut things down so that I can be a living model. Because what you are creating, when you get the Kimberlys, when you get the Kenyas, when you get the doctors, if you don't help that on this side of 18, then you're going to have the traumatic adult. So we have to start in prevention so that we're not getting to treatment and intervention. Yes. We have to be proactive and do prevention. Why do we have to wait? It is not a spectator sport. We can all be involved, but we have to look at it. My 9-year-old needs to be involved in something. My 11-year-old needs to be involved in something. Instead of buying that baby the bundle, I'm going to say what I had to say. Instead of buying her the bundle, okay, the Jordans and all of this, get that baby in something that's going to develop and cultivate her beyond her outer. If you don't start with the inside, then she's not going to know how to secure herself. She doesn't have the tools, and the tools are necessary to help her manage life other than technology.
Yes, absolutely. But
I'll just pause for a second for this comment.
Yeah, that's strong.
Lisa says, we also have to make sure our children know what healthy relationships look like. I had a young niece and her baby daughter who were murdered in a domestic violence situation. Absolutely. That's unfortunate. And we're sorry, Lisa.
Very sorry.
I'm so sorry for that, but it is so common. And that is something else that as Black, Keisha was talking about, and we're talking about secrecy. Right? Because that is part of our culture. You don't talk about what happens in our house. We don't talk about this outside. Here's the problem with that, y'all, is that we hold on to things because we don't know how common they are. Yeah. As a criminal defense attorney, I can tell you that there are as many child sex cases in Black communities as there are in any other communities. Mm-hmm. There is as much domestic violence in white communities as there are in anybody else's communities. These are human things. These are human flaws. They are not specific or unique to any one culture. Right. So that is the first thing that we have to do. We have to talk about these things. Yes. I was lucky enough to have a mother who understood that raising children required special training, right? So my mother minored in early childhood psychology. That was her minor, specifically to raise us. And I am and my children have and my marriage has and my hopefully for generations we will benefit from that foresight from my mother. But one of the things that it taught us was full transparency, right? Full transparency. When we're talking about our bodies, and y'all let's just get real right here for a second, okay? Our sexual happiness has a lot to do with our physical, mental selves, right? But Black women have been taught to covet our sexuality as though it is some kind of special prize, right? That we have to hold on to in a way that is unhealthy. And so many Black women have an unhealthy relationship with their own sexuality. One of the things that I worked real hard with my girls was to make feeling and being sexual beings normal. It is okay. You are supposed to feel those things. There is nothing wrong with that, right? And so I want to, that's a conversation for another day probably, but Black women and our relationship with sexuality and how we have these sick, distorted relationships with sexuality is so problematic, and it's something that we have to talk about. And from my profession, what I do for a living, which as a social advocate, one of the things that I'm most concerned about as it relates to this is the overturning of Roe v. Wade and the loss of the ability to control your own reproductive health. Let me be clear about this. This is an issue that is primary to Black women, and let me tell you why. Because making abortions illegal does not stop abortions. It just makes them very, very unsafe. Okay. And when things are unsafe, the people who suffer the most are Black folks. My grandmama used to say, when America get a cold, Black people get pneumonia. Let me tell you something. When you take away reproductive choices, Black women and girls will die. This is an issue that it doesn't even matter where you are morally, what your belief in this is. The reality is that without safe access to reproductive health, Black girls and women will die. We have got to have a real conversation about this, y'all. And we have got to have that real conversation about what having access to reproductive health means.
That's so
I'm
true.
gonna stop right there.
Dawn, that's so true. I mean, it's actually a part of you. It's almost like you read what we were going to talk about, and I'm glad you brought that up. But great point. Whether somebody believes one way or another, this is your expertise. This is your area. So definitely, we leave the floor open for everybody to speak to their beliefs. So yeah, that could be a whole. That could be a whole show. Like really, it really could, because it has so many layers to it. But I'm glad you touched on it for sure. So thank you for that. Did anybody want to add anything before we move forward? I see people rocking, so it's just so I'll give the floor to Kenya. We have y'all, I wish y'all were here. We are having some amazing conversation even in the studio. So I know that when we go live with this, like in person, and are able to have a panel conversation and really talk about some of these things, is going to be so powerful. So y'all got to keep looking out, watching out to be sure that you are in the space when we do that. So Kenya.
Yeah, I want to take a moment and acknowledge our audience with these awesome comments. I know we haven't been able to read them all out loud and identify, but Fatima, Ruth, Marie, Lisa, I think I saw Jacqueline Jeter, Kenya Wallace, everyone who has been commenting and supporting. Thank you so much for being in the chat and for watching. We haven't talked about church yet. So I think it was you, Sandra, who talked about,
growing up in the church.
Growing up. Well, you mentioned something about moms. Your mom saying, "Don't do that." You better not, right? Yep. And then I think. So I grew up Catholic, so I know it's probably a little bit different experience, but I will say that church was always the solution. right?
Yeah, right.
And from what I understand here in the South, I don't know if everybody's from the South, but from what I've heard, from what my friends have told me, from what in-laws have told me, that the church was always go to church, go to church. Was that a way to pacify raising children?
That's a
I
good
know not
question.
everybody's gonna like that question, but
Ooh, sis, that's a word there. Lord have mercy.
Was it? Because I have this conversation all the time. To actively raise children is hard.
Yes, it is.
It's difficult. It's exhausting. Listen.
Go ahead.
The questions that are asked, that if I ignore, I'm doing a disservice to my kids. So I have to be active in my parenting, where when we would ask questions like you said, go have a seat. That's not a conversation that we have, right? Not to say our parents didn't love us. Like, I'm not saying any of that. But, I do think a lot of times people thought if you're in the church, you're going to be okay. You're going to turn out okay. We found that is, I love God, but church has failed us in so many ways.
Goodness gracious. And what I'll say about that, and I grew up in the Bronx, New York, although my parents were born and raised in the deep South. So like you said, you always had little Haiti. I mean, I was in the middle of New York City in the concrete jungle, but I was still in the South in my home, because that's where my parents were from. And I think with religion, I hear what you're saying as far as the question, because it is in some way a scapegoat, in that, because the Bible says you ain't supposed to,
right?
And that's a period at the end of that sentence.
When we're now finding out the Bible some verses were created to oppress us, right?
So we get into a whole big thing with that, right? But it is a way to, and I think sometimes, because it's difficult to have those conversations, especially in that generation, it's an easy way to just say, this is what it is. But at the same time, as it relates to religion, the Christian religion, Pentecostal, those kind of mindsets, you're not supposed to question God.
I know.
So you're not allowed to ask those questions. That's it, and that's all, because the Bible said so. That's a complete sentence. And anything questioning is a sin in and of itself. How dare you question it?
Listen, I stopped going. My family started a church. When I say my family started, I mean my grandfather took out a second mortgage on his house to build our first church, Zion Hill Missionary Baptist Church in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. You hear me? It was a church where girls couldn't wear pants in the sanctuary. We had to wear skirts, even if that meant you had to put a skirt over your shorts. It was also a church where if a girl got pregnant and she wasn't married, she had to stand in front of the congregation and ask the congregation for forgiveness.
My God. Okay.
For her pregnancy. Now, it didn't matter that the little boy or the grown ass, excuse my language, the grown man that got her pregnant was sitting in that congregation as well. Nobody asked him to get up and ask for the forgiveness of the church, right? And these are the kinds of things that are designed to make Black women's relationship with their own sexuality so toxic.
Agreed.
But you talk about what the Bible said. Listen, I stopped going to church. I was about 16. This is the last time it was. It's a story I tell all the time. There was this big earthquake in San Francisco, and it was during a World Series baseball game that was happening in San Francisco. A bridge collapsed. Hundreds of people died, right? So we go to church that Sunday. I'm in Sunday school. And I say, it's so awful. It's so awful. And my Sunday school teacher says to me, well, those people died for their sins. I said, excuse me? He said, because they lived in San Francisco, where it was full of Sodom and Gomorrah type debauchery. God smited them. That is what he said to me. I said, okay, so help me understand. And this is, again, because I'm a church girl, right? So I said, well, what about all the women and children? Because in my mind at that time, women and kids couldn't be gay. Like, that wasn't the thing. Only men was gay, right? So
Right.
what about the women and children? He said, well, they died because they was adjacent to the sin. They lived among it, and they adopted it, right? They said it was okay. I said, let me tell you something. If God was going to start smiting people for their sins, this church building would go up in flames. How dare you say that you know who God has chosen because of what sins to smite? What? Those people died for they sin. He told me, do not, you are questioning God. I said, no, sir, I'm questioning you. I'm questioning you. And there is a big difference between questioning you and questioning God, because what you're saying sounds crazy. And I'm sure that if God felt like talking to you today, he would tell you, don't put that on me. Don't put them words in my mouth. So
you were 16 when you said this?
That part.
I'm impressed.
I've been this person my whole life, right? And a lot of it is because I had a mother who, while we went to church, we were missionary Baptists, but my mother made it a point to make sure that we were exposed to all different kinds of religions and understood and saw the commonality and the base of what religion is really about, which is about finding a higher spirit, believing in the universe, believing in something that is greater than you. That is true throughout religions. It is not, there is no one religion that has a cockhold on what is right and what is pure and that balance that the universe and religion is supposed to provide, but it's just been so perverted by man. But anyway, that's a whole different conversation. Oh yeah, but I got in trouble though. I got in trouble. I got in trouble. Wow, when I tell you I got in trouble, pastor, my uncle was the pastor. He preached from the pulpit again, like they doubled down. People died for their sins.
Dawn, you got in good trouble though. That's that good trouble.
Good trouble. Let's go to Keisha on this. You got some comments?
Listen, from listening to Dawn, honey, I done forgot the original question because she done messed me slam up so hard. I said, "Whoa!" I think I saw a vision of her getting in trouble. She got a whooping right there in the sanctuary. So, all right. Restate the question in terms. Oh, you said, was it? I think Kenya said, was it passive in terms of the church?
Or what did our parents use the church to kind of pacify their depthness of teaching us, of parenting us?
I can say in part, but the word that came to my mind was more protection. They felt like the church was the safe place. Historically, if you look back in slavery, the gathering of us, let us assemble together. So without as much teaching in terms of expression, the years of trauma, they did not have a coffee and collaborations. They didn't know how to express their feelings. All they knew to do was survive. So let us gather together, right? Misinterpret the word of God, not intentionally, right? We've said that, but yet let us come together and protect these babies. So we are living a fear-based scarcity mindset instead of faith-based. What does that look like? I can tell you, baby, you having these feelings. What does this mean? Me telling you what is going on physiologically in your body is not me condoning X, Y, and Z, but I have to educate you. So it's the miseducation based off of fear, the lack of knowledge and trauma, but let me get everybody together. And how can we protect so that we are not endangered, right? So that's what came to my mind in terms of back then. But we're in a whole different place right now, whole different season where churches are. This is my hope. I can't speak for every church. Well, honey, if you're not educating, the child gonna find out somehow. Okay, there's no need. We need to bring the real truth. Incorporating the word of God and integrating, like God know you having a moment in your physiological body. Okay, he already know, baby, you're hot. Okay, you're on fire. So let's talk about this fire. And when we talk about this fire, then you can make intentional choices and decisions, not from a suppression. I can't. You're gonna bust because somebody done told you can't. Versus, here's why I don't want to. Here's why I want you to try. Let me go grab another sister for accountability. Girl, we want to try to, is this what we want to do? So I believe that we're in a better space of providing education, encouragement, empowerment, and evangelism.
Yes.
Right? Me too. I want Johnny. Me too. He fine, girl. Me too. Come on. We got to stop all this foolishness and have these real conversations. My girls know. Miss Keisha go, look here. I done slid to the ground. Now, how can I do this? They will come to me. And it's no shame. Like I said in here, it's no shame. Baby, they doing it anyway. Come to the mother. I'm the modern mother. Come to me and let's talk about this.
Yes.
Because if you want to live holy, if you want to stay pure unto marriage, let's talk about what is that like, how you can endure. What are you going to do physiologically? Do I need to go see the doc? Because something is, I'm on fire. Doctor, you got a pill. No, she ain't got a pill. Let's talk about it.
Right. And there are so many things that need to be discussed in that platform in the church. It's a lot. There are a lot of things that people, like, to your point, are beginning to speak about from the pulpit, such as finance. A lot of times that was not really taught from the pulpit, but such as, I remember, what was No More Sheets? What was the Bible?
I need a Bible.
Remember how people went in on her for that years ago. Do y'all remember that?
Yes.
Anita Bynum
laid out.
They were in on her. So, but these are things. I mean, it was real when you go back and listen to it.
Yes,
it was real, and I'm sure it helped a lot of people to, she got her own story, so we ain't gonna go down her path. But what she was saying there was good. But I want to go back to what, as we wrap up, I want to go back to something that you said, Dawn, a moment ago. You said that you told your pastor, or the person who said that I don't believe that God would be okay with what you are telling these people. And so with that 16-year-old statement, you had the wisdom to understand that there is knowledge and truth, and there is interpretation and misinterpretation. And that's the thing that we have to do, as whether you are a Christian, whatever faith you have to study and know. For you have to sit and read, and you cannot just believe everything that comes out of someone's mouth, which is what I love about books. This is what I love about books. You can take a book and you can break stuff down. You can learn Hebrew if you want. If the Bible is something that you really want to study, you can learn the origination. What did it truly mean? These are things that we have access to. So I love that you said that, because that's the thing that differentiates the person who actually leaves that situation, never comes back, leaves total belief in God, and it's just, the path that evolves as a result of that, versus the person who says, let me find out this for myself. Let me realize this is a man, this is not God, and go from there. And so, did you want to say anything at all, Dr. Swiner, before I'm sorry.
That's yeah.
She been out there, So
I'm still amazed that Dawn at such a young age was that mature, and that discerning to ask those types of questions. Though that's the way I pray my girls are, just asking the question, like, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. Let me ask again. So Dawn, that's amazing. But no, I think this overall theme is that, or that I was reminded of, is that church hurt exists. And the thing that I think that I benefited from, I mean, there were a lot of pluses to the shutdown, right? When the pandemic first started happening, we didn't know what was going on. We were shut down for a couple of weeks. We all had to sit still. What I gathered and what I think I benefited from during that moment was, I'm, grown up, Baptist, going to church every Sunday, being involved, doing all these things. But as I grow now and have my family and have my girls that I'm trying to teach Christianity to, I was reminded that a lot of what's happening in the church as a phenomenon, an organism, is absolute foolishness. And the real church, right, is here. And so the fact that we were able to be at home together on Sundays, we were able to sit and worship together. We joined a whole new church virtually together during the shutdown. It reminded me of going back to the true origin, which is the faith lives in you. It lives in you. And try to ignore this foolishness that happens out with, the folk that run the church at times. And so I hope my girls are picking up on those pieces too, and we'll carry that with them.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up, I definitely want to give you all the floor to share how people can get in touch with you, follow you, and all of your wisdom, and in all of the amazing things that you're doing, going out here being leaders, influencers, those who are mentoring and coaching others to their excellence. Please share your information, and I'll start with you, Sandra.
Sure thing. I just have to say, ladies, I have enjoyed our time together. I can't wait till we can all be in the same room, because I really needed to throw a shoe at all of y'all. And so it just needs to happen. We got to make that happen. So Kenia and Kimberly, please get on that. And thank you again for allowing me to be a part of this beautiful forum. I am really, really inspired by all of your magnificence. And you can stay connected with me. Again, it's at Bald Beauty Queen. Like I said, I'm just rocking a new do, but I'm from Wakanda. Okay, don't get it twisted. And so you can connect with me on social media at Bald Beauty Queen. My website is sandradubose.com. And so, like I said, I'm all things women's empowerment, speaking to women, to teenage girls, just like Keisha Kusar. I mean, there's not enough of us. There's plenty of room for everybody, because some people will be able to connect with Keisha's voice. Some people will be able to connect with me. So if you are someone and you feel like you have a word and you want to go out and help people, come on. We need you out here in these streets. There is work to be done, but the laborers are few. So I also do, I'm a singer and an event host. So call on me and I'd be happy to connect with you. And thank you again, ladies. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you. We'll go to Doc Swiner.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I was tired when we signed on, but now I am energized. Y'all pumped me up. I loved it. I am at Doc Swiner on most social media outlets except for IG, where I'm at Real Doc Swiner. Just had to switch that over. I got hacked, so I had to switch that to at Real Doc Swiner. And if you are interested in me coming out and talking about the Superwoman complex, self-care, the soft life, mental health, or any chronic disease issue, let me know. And then come out and get some fluids and some vitamins. I started Serenity Hydration and Wellness, which is an IV and wellness company, and we're mobile. So if you want to look into that, it's at Serenity Hydration Wellness on IG. And I look forward to seeing you all. Stay healthy.
Absolutely. You said at Serenity Hydration Wellness?
That's the IG handle. Yes.
Okay, I got it.
Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. We have loved having you and glad that we woke you up. Got some energy. And now we'll go to Keisha.
Thank you, ladies, so much. It's been amazing to be a part of part 1 and part 2. I have enjoyed each of you and just learning and gleaning and growing together, right? So I believe that there will be more opportunities for us to do this and to unmask, so that our women and girls can continue to grow as well. So feel free to reach out and connect with me at Keisha L. Cousar. It's KIESHAL as in love, COUSAR. Keisha L. Cousar on all social media platforms, and KeishaLCousar.com. You can go there and follow me in regards to women owning their lives, securing themselves, as well as girls for my Empower Her program. There's many things that I do. Oh, it's SAR, COUSAR. And be sure to
I got it right the first time and not the second time.
Yes. In coaching, training and development, corporate agencies, institutions, girls empowerment, you name it. Sandra and I both, right? And I love that you said that, because every woman is not your assignment. Every girl is not your assignment. And so all of us can share in this. The front line needs to be equipped. I need you, you need me, and we're better together. So I look forward to you contacting me, and we come on out there and have that conversation that you and me want to talk about. Miss Keisha will.
Absolutely. And last but not least, Dawn.
Y'all, thank y'all so much for inviting me to this powerful sister circle. It has been, I have really enjoyed this. And it was the perfect distraction to this election night where I'm getting ready to leave here and go watch these results and hope that we get some powerful change. You can find my work at emancipatenc.org. You can find us Emancipate NC on Facebook or social media, on Twitter, which I don't get Twitter, so it's not much happening there, but that's neither here nor there. But that's where you can find us. And I just want to say again, I thank y'all so much. And as we have been talking, it occurs to me that I do know all of these women. Doc Swain, I saw you give a presentation at a Jack and Jill President's Retreat years ago.
Yep, in Greensboro.
That's right. Sandra, you were the MC at our very first cotillion botillion for the Capital City chapter of Jack and Jill. And you were absolutely amazing. So yes, we had look, the universe is something special. I tell y'all right now, it is something special. So I'm so happy to have been here, and thank you for including me.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all once again. Kenia, do you have any wrap words?
It was a great part 2. I think there needs to be another part. So
Yes.
I think we should probably bring the ladies from part 1, which 2 are here, but we're missing 2 others, right?
Mm-hmm.
And part 2 ladies, and maybe a couple more, and have just a roundtable discussion with a live audience.
Absolutely.
Asking questions. I think we could set something up.
We absolutely can.
Mhm.
You know, I'm all about it.
Maybe some breakout rooms. Maybe some
right.
not to create work, but
I feel like a little mini conference.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Yeah.
that's what I was going to say. God knows I was getting ready to say, I feel a conference in my spirit right now.
You said I'm about that conference life. You know,
well, y'all be looking out for the next installment of the Ethos of a Black Woman and all the levels that it will be. We will be getting together and we will be letting you know. But yeah, this conversation has to continue because as we saw, there's so much more to discuss. And somebody said, sign me up. All right, now we're going to put your name down.
Right.
So yeah, we are excited to get in the room together with some other women to continue the conversation. And as I said, women of other nationalities, other cultures, with their ethos, and really talk through this and grow together. So once again, to my beautiful co-host, Kenia Thompson, thank you for this collaboration that we will continue. And for all of the beautiful ladies who joined us, thank you once again. You all have an amazing rest of your Tuesday evening. Continue to shine bright because someone, as Marianne Williamson says in her poem, Our Deepest Fear, someone is waiting for you to shine so that they will have permission to do the same. So shine, girl, shine. And then another thing, don't worry about comparing yourself to anybody else. Go on out and beat your best. All right, y'all have a great rest of your evening. Good night.
Good night.